All right, people. I'm back with another review. And before I get into this review, I just want everybody to understand that I love movies. I love cinema. I love going to the theater. I love sitting down in the theater. I love getting some popcorn, putting my legs on top of the chair, disrupting people in front of me. I love that shit. My biggest issue with movies nowadays is it feels like majority of them don't belong in theaters. They don't belong in a space where I have to pay $10 a ticket to see. Some movies, and I understand, sometimes you get a lemon of a movie. Sometimes you go into a movie and it's just absolute trash. Sometimes you waste your money. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you go and see a fucking, an extraordinary movie. Sometimes you go into it and you think, oh, this movie's going to be horrible, and it ends up being great. Sometimes you go into it thinking it's going to be great, and it's actually fucking horrible. I went and saw the Forever Purge. Can you guess which one it is? It's fucking horrible. So, this movie is the fifth installment, or like the sixth or seventh or 80th. I'm not too sure how many there are. I just know I've seen them all. So, being the 15th movie in the series, there's going to be a little bit of like a kind of like growing pains almost, where you're kind of just like, man, this is not a good, it's not a good spot for this series. And this is that movie. This is, in my opinion, I'm going to cut to the chase right now. I'm just going to cut to the chase. This is the worst Purge movie ever made. This is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And it's not because it's not because I went and saw it in theaters and I felt like I wasted my money, because I do that all the time. That's what I let off with. Sometimes you waste your money. But I hate when that happens. I want to see a movie that improves on everything the previous movies did. And I know that sounds really hard to do. I mean, for God's sakes, there was like 15 Friday the 13th, and they were getting worse and worse as they went. I get it. We're in the year 2021. And we don't have a stable horror, action, thriller type series right now that keeps people coming to the theaters. The Purge was kind of one of those movies where you could go into it and it was just mindless violence happening. You know what I mean? And it always had like a really good background to it. Because I think The Purge, personally, I think The Purge is a cool idea. I think it's a really cool movie. I'm just going to kind of go back a little bit. The first movie with Ethan Hawke and fucking Cersei Lannister, pretty good movie. I liked it. It pulled me in. It really did. It pulled me in. It pulled me into the whole, what if America was like this? Is this the way America's turning out to be? It was cool. All I really wanted from the first one was to see what was going on outside of the walls of a rich person. I wanted to see what's going on in the streets, So in the movie, like, you'll see like news reports of, people getting shot and stuff like that. I wanted to see that more in the first movie. The first movie is more like a being hunted in your own house type of movie, and that was cool. The second movie, The Purge, Anarchy, Anal Sex, whatever the fuck it was called, that movie, I liked it. I thought it did everything a sequel was supposed to do. It expanded on it. It did what I wanted. It gave me a new character to follow, interesting character at that to follow, and it opened it up to put it in the city a little more, and I got to see how the Purge was happening in like the big city. I love that. That was cool. Fourth movie, I'm a little bit hazy on. I know the third one was called Election Year or some shit, and I know it wasn't that good. It wasn't the best movie ever made. It dove deeper into the whole like government, the government, man, being all involved in the Purge and everything like that. They gave us more like context as to why the Purge is so important to America. The fourth movie, I believe, was the first Purge, it was called The First Purge, which is, that's another thing. I'm so fucking sick of sequels. We don't really have an idea for a fourth movie, so we're just gonna make this one a prequel. Whatever. That movie, though, I know wasn't that good. I didn't enjoy it that much. I barely remember it, to be honest with you, because, who cares about the first ever Purge? Nobody gives a fuck. So that leads us into the TV series that they did, I believe, on TNT called The Purge. And I didn't watch that piece of shit. I didn't watch that at all. I assume since it only went for like 2 seasons, nobody really gave a fuck about it anymore after that. That's going to lead us into this movie, though. And this movie is called The Forever Purge, which is just as generic as you would think. It follows these two, and I'm not trying to say this, I'm not a racist guy. I'm not like that at all. But the movie literally follows 2 Mexican people. And I wouldn't call them Mexican people if I actually knew their fucking names, because they don't say their names really at all. I think the girl's name is Adele or some shit, but they don't say her name at all. And I think the husband or the man character, like the man to her, is Juan. I don't know. I don't know. He could be Jose. He could be Jorge. He could be fucking Billy Bob Thornton. I don't know who the fuck this guy is. And that irritates me. That's number one. Number one thing that irritates the living shit out of me in this movie is there is zero character development. There's no context about anything. And I understand when you're going into a movie like this, a thriller, that's just a long-lasting, purge movie. Yeah, who needs context? It's just about people killing each other. That would make sense if the movie actually had that in the movie. There was barely any scenes of, you see violence happening, you see blood splatter and shit. But every time someone died in this movie, it kind of cut away and kind of for instance, there's a part where dude's on the ground and he takes a sledgehammer and he bashes a guy in the head with it. Instead of showing us the guy's face getting caved in, like I would love to see, that'd be cool. No, it gives us a cut of the camera under the guy looking up at the fucking sledgehammer coming down at him, and it just shows blood splatter. What kind of shit is that, dude? I digress. The movie follows 2 Mexican people. We're going to call them Juan and Adele. That's going to be their names. If that's not their names, I'm sorry. The movie should have been fucking better. It starts with them. They're escaping Mexico. They're escaping Mexico. The movie literally starts with them walking through the deserts of Mexico. They get to a shack where there's 3 Mexicans sitting in a circle playing cards. No context. I have no idea what's going on. I just assume they're trying to escape the horrible lives of Mexico. Okay? All right? My chair keeps falling. I'm getting shorter. That's what this movie does. Makes people shorter. God damn it. So there's just 3 Mexican dudes. They're all playing cards. There's no context. So you can just assume right away, okay, these, the 2 main characters, Juan and Adele, have fucking backpacks on. So they must be trying to get out of Mexico and get into America. That makes sense. That seems like something that makes sense. They give the 3 Mexican guys the mahi, the pesos. And the 3 Mexican guys look at each other and go, we just hit the jackpot. They open up a little thing. The 2 Mexicans, Adele and Juan, go down into the hole where there are more Mexicans. So we assume they're all just sitting there. All the Mexicans are just sitting in that hole. It's almost like they were waiting for these 2 people to show up. Because as soon as these 2 people show up, all the Mexicans decide to run through a tunnel in the dark to get to the other side of the tunnel, to get to wherever the hole leads. Why were they all waiting? First off. Second off. It doesn't even fucking matter. So they get out of the hole. Okay, they get out of the fucking tunnel. My chair's sinking again. They get out of the hole, and it's on the other side of America. But what's on top of that hole? What's built over that hole? The wall. The wall that Trump and them made. They're still keeping to that. They want to point out the fact that, So there's the wall built, okay? The wall is built, and it's showing that Mexicans have found a way through the wall no matter what. Duh. So the movie then goes to pre-credits, where it's giving us a little bit of a background of the old Purge movies. You know, not like a background, but it's like pretty much giving us the rundown of, oh, the NFA or whatever the fuck they are organizing for the Purge to happen every year. It's just pretty much giving us like a timeline just in case you're a stupid fuck and you didn't go and see the previous movies. Great. So, movie starts back up. It says 10 months later. Okay, so we assume Juan and Adele are safe somewhere. Lo and behold, they are. Juan is working on a farm with a bunch of rich white fucks, a bunch of cowboys, a bunch of cow folk, or whatever the fuck they are. You know, they tip their hat to each other type shit. I'm from the Midwest. I don't pay attention to cowboys. So, right away, there's already like conflict between the American guys that are living there and that are paying the Mexican guys to wrangle horses and stuff. There's already a conflict between them. There's like a jealousy thing going on. It's awful. It's terrible. All it is to show how racist the white people are in this scene, really. You know, it just shows how racist the one white dude is, really. And then it flashes over to Adele, and she's working in like a butcher shop, or that's how much I don't give a fuck. I don't know where she was working. She was making a life for herself in America, though. You can tell like she was doing good at like being like a boss at where she's at, you know. I'm sorry, guys. I wanted to do a synopsis for this for you guys, you know, because there was so much bad about this movie. But with that being said, there's so much bad about this movie that I'm going to drive myself fucking insane just jumbling all of the garbage scenes together. The movie assumes that we're stupid, though, because right away, the dialogue in the movie is really like, I don't know, like almost like they wrote shit down just in case the viewer is a stupid fuck. You know, like just in case we came into it just going, duh, we don't really know what's going on in these movies. Because there's just scenes where like they'll say shit. Like, for instance, the movie already said 10 months later, for instance, right? And the Adele chick, when she goes up to this girl, this Mexican girl that works there, she's like, you know, kind of giving a little bit of context to her. And then she's just like, I've been here for so long, for over almost a year now. And it's like, we don't need you to say shit like that because the movie literally just told us 10 months later. We don't need the character to explain, to expedite story to us when we can put it together that it's been 10 months later. Now, if they didn't say 10 months later before this scene, okay, her saying we've been in America for over a year or almost a year, that makes sense to me now. I digress. So the Purge starts, okay? Purge starts. Well, before the Purge starts, the owner of the ranch that Juan is working on comes over, and what pisses me off about this scene is he comes in with a bunch of little envelopes with money in it, and he walks up to one of the Mexican guys and he goes, here's your, you know, fucking survival money or whatever, the Purge survival money, your bonus for the Purge or something like that. Because he's trying to be a good owner. He's trying to be a guy that's like, hey, you know, I understand, you know, you're Mexican guys that don't have a lot of places to go. I'm sinking again. I'm sinking. Anyway, he's a good guy. So he's like, you know, here's your Purge bonus money, you know, try to survive, you know, be safe. You know, here's some money to get you transportation or whatever you need to get through the Purge. Nice guy. But he blatantly says, here's your Purge bonus money, protection money. And then, like, if he didn't even need to say that, because literally, like, 5 seconds later, he goes up to the guy, the main character, the Juan guy, and he's kind of just like, you know, I'm sorry that my son's kind of, you know, he's got too much pride and he's a little racist, and I'm sorry about that. You know, don't take it personally. You're a really good cattleman or whatever. And then he hands the guy the money, and the fucking Juan guy goes, what's this? And the guy goes, it's your Purge protection money. I had to hear that twice in one scene when I already knew what it fucking was. I knew what the money was before he even fucking said what the money was. I was like, oh, it's probably their bonus because the Purge starts tomorrow. Doesn't take a fucking rocket scientist to figure that out. But the movie, the director and the writers think that we're fucking stupid. They think we're so stupid. You know, they think we're dumb, and they think we need to hear the same thing multiple times to understand the movie. Now, that's just an example, but that's how the whole movie goes. The whole movie assumes that we're fucking stupid. And I've seen some bad movies, man. I've seen some bad movies. I've seen some really bad movies. But man, this movie, guys, this movie is so fucking garbage, dude. Like, it's ridiculous. Like I said, the only thing that can redeem this movie would be the death. The death. The killing. The killing. It's underwhelming. Underwhelming as fuck. Every time they kill somebody, it cuts away. Cuts away, and it's just boring. It's just absolutely fucking boring, man. And this movie is a prime example of thrillers that need to fucking stop, man. Stop these movies, man. Stop movies like this. Turn them into fucking HBO shows or something, man. Something that I can just jump in and out of instead of having to watch all of them. They're all just bad. It's just terrible, man. High budget garbage. And, you know, I wish I could give you more examples. I would sit here and spoil the whole movie, but it's almost so bad that you need to like visualize how bad this shit is. It's just, this movie is a standard for what not to do in thrillers now. It's just the standard for it, man. You know, they try to have love interests in the movie that don't matter. They just try way too fucking hard to do shit. And spoiler alert, none of the main characters die. Nobody dies. Dude, nobody. Not a single person really dies in this movie, dude. And it's just so annoying. Like, all the main characters, like, they're so bad. Like, they're such bad characters, and none of them die. Like, for instance, the one of the other main, like, one of the white dudes that they're with throughout the movie, one of the ranch owners, his little sister is this blonde bitch that's, like, barely talks throughout the whole movie. She never says anything throughout the whole movie. And then suddenly she's like a badass, like halfway through the movie. She's gunning people down and shit. And it's just like, I would appreciate her character more if I had some context on like, who is she? What is she? Who? Like, she's the little sister to this guy, but like, why is she so quiet? Why? It's just, ugh. It's just such a bad movie. Another scene that irritated the shit out of me was after he gives everybody those bonuses, the purge starts. And the white family is hanging out in their living room. And then it zooms out of their house. And they got this big fucking mansion. So you got roughly they got like maybe, I'm just going to say roughly 10 people, 10 Mexicans that work for them, right? You'd rather give all these Mexicans a chunk of money to survive, and then you want them to come in the next day after the purge is done and work. But you got this big fucking mansion that you're the only people that were in the mansion at the time after they did the lockdown and shit. The only people that were in the mansion was the grandpa or the dad, the racist white guy who is his son, the racist white guy's wife who's pregnant, and then the little sister. There are 4 fucking people in that mansion. And they couldn't invite a single Mexican over to survive. They even put fucking like metal locks and like metal like blinders over the barn where the fucking like where the horses go and shit. You know what I mean? Like, and there weren't even any animals in the barns. They still locked it down though. You could have had all the Mexicans sleeping out in the barn at least, because it flashes over to the Mexicans and they're like on a school bus trying to find a place to survive. And it's just, ugh. It's just such a bad fucking movie, dude. And like this has gone on long enough. It's a bad movie. Don't fucking watch it. I'd rather cover myself in feces than watch this movie, dude. It's so bad. It's so bad. And I know this was jumbled. I understand it. But you know what, man? If there's anything you took from this, don't see this movie. Don't see this movie, and don't fucking give money to the purge anymore, man, because it's stupid. And a lot of the movie is like a push agenda. It's like a push rhetoric that every white person hates minorities. That's the purge now. That's how it seems. And you know what, man? It's just, it's boring. It's a boring way to like do it, because the first like 4 movies were about the government taking down all the low profit people, like all the lower class people. minorities and stuff. That's what they're doing. Then they ram it home even harder in this movie. This movie almost feels like it should have been made back during the Trump administration days. Like it's like too late to be doing this movie now because they talk about the wall and like just all this shit that's on continuing and continuing and continuing the same just agenda style like pushed rhetoric shit. And it's boring, man. It's just boring. And I'm sick to my stomach. The review is going to be a 2 out of 10, a 2, maybe 3 out of 10. This movie fucking sucks, man. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give it a fucking 3 out of 10. This movie sucks. This movie fucking sucks. I don't recommend seeing this. The only time I would recommend seeing this is if you're sitting in a waiting room and it's on TV. Even then I would stand up and I would ask the receptionist to turn it the fuck off. But if you had to watch this movie, watch it for free because it is fucking horrible, man. It's a terrible movie. But yeah, man, it's awful. So I just want everybody to have a great 4th of July. If you don't celebrate that shit, then have just a good weekend in general. And if you don't celebrate having a good weekend, then fuck you. Thanks, guys.